Reform UK gained 4 seats, but the impact is bigger than you think. We're going to be reading and looking into the analysis, and we're going to be looking at the seats they've gained, the seats they could have gained too. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here, and we're going to be looking at the analysis here. This is the analysis, and of that is from Sky News, highlighting obviously the impact and the fallout from the UK general election. There's still 1 or 2 undeclared at the time of this recording, but I think it's fair to say that Reform are going to have 4 seats here from the looks of it. And before I show you some of the constituencies that they've won and some of the ones that they could have won and the impact they could have had, I just wanted to highlight this here for you. Here, this is the percentage of the vote share overall, and you can see here that although yes, there has been quite a good big chunk for Reform UK there, still not as much as the Conservatives overall in this general election. 33.9% still for Labour in the overall chunk, 23.7% for the Conservatives, 14.3% for Reform. Now, make no mistake about it, that is a big chunk, and people should be taking that very seriously. But you can also see there, Liberal Democrats obviously had a big gain as well in 12.2%, 6.8% for Greens, 2.4% for the SNPs, and 0.7% for Plaid Cymru. But I just wanted to highlight that to you. Then here is the general election map. At the time of this recording, there's still a few undecided, but you can see on, if you can see on the dots there, some of the hexagons, there's still a couple of light blue ones. Well, so Reform UK have gained 4 seats in this general election, and I have to say, guys, I was expecting maybe 1 or 2, I was expecting 2. But the fact that they gained 4 seats is an astonishing achievement in and of itself. The X6 landslide poll on the night of the election, the landslide poll had predicted 13 seats for Reform UK. However, the turnout is obviously shown to be very, very different here. As we can see, Labour is in pretty much most of control. There's still quite a lot of Conservative seats there. There's quite a few Liberal Democrat seats there. So, but without a shadow of a doubt, I think there have been some Labour gains and some Conservatives hold some of these based off bouncing off how Reform has impacted this general election. Now, many people who have voted for Reform, they're voted for Reform for a number of things. First of all, they've lost complete and total trust with the Conservative Party. We know that. The second thing is they have no trust whatsoever within Labour Party or with Keir Starmer. That is a given. The other thing is that they're not. The thing is that it's not so much. And Reform voters can say what they want in the comments section down. It's not so much that they don't like the it's not so much against the Liberal Democrats. Maybe some of them do feel they have a hatred towards Liberal Democrats because of obviously they've made false promises in the past. Obviously, the Greens haven't had much of an them from there because they're complete opposite of one. But clearly, the impact of immigration has had a sway on people voting for Reform. Now, Nigel Farage, obviously, now that he is an MP, now we're going to see what he can do. Yeah, for all the people who have said that Nigel Farage is going to make a difference, he can all down. Now he's going to have the opportunity to show that. You know, he's done a lot of talking. He does a lot of talking, a lot of waffling. Now Nigel Farage has got to back it up. Now, is he going to back it up? Is he actually going to, instead of talking the talk, is he going to put words into action? Is he going to turn Clacton into a seat that is he going to make things better for the people of Clacton? That's the question that I really want to know. You know, because it's all well and good putting him in this seat, but him winning the seat. But is he going to do that? It's the same for Richard Tice as well. Is he going to be making an impact as well? Obviously, we'll look at Ashfield and the other seat as well for the other Reform candidate as well. But people have clearly voted with the intention of believing that Reform UK is in the best interest of the United Kingdom. Despite the fact that Reform have had a lot of candidates, a lot of people within their party that have shown to be racist, transphobic, who actually think it's okay, who actually want immigrants to die crossing the channel as well. So they're happy. So they want to have blood on their hands as well. These are the kind of rhetoric that you're getting from Reform UK. And Nigel Farage is a very appealing man. He really comes across as somebody who really does speak as a man of the people. And again, I don't know how many times I need to tell you this. he's not a man of the people. He's not a working man. He has no idea what it's like to work for a living. Yeah, he doesn't come from a working class background. He comes from a private school. He has a lot of money behind him. But obviously his way of words, him being down at the pub and all that kind of stuff, appeals to people. Now, I've said this before and I said this again. There are allegedly some links from Reform UK to Russia, as there are alleged links from them to the Conservative Party. And I'm very, very clear. I stand by what I've said about Reform. And if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe and go somewhere else. That's totally fine. But I think Reform UK are a very dangerous party, and I think they're going to really cause harm to a lot of people. They have a platform to continue to espouse a lot of things, and that will be on GB News as well. But obviously, those in the comments will obviously say, a lot of people in the comments will obviously say different about them. But let's have a read of some of the results anyway, guys. So here's first and foremost, this is Clacton. So Reform gained from the Conservatives. The electorate had 78,703 there. The turnout was 58.4%, a majority of 8,405 there. So Reform got 46.2% of the vote share. The closest was Conservatives there with 27.9% of the vote share, followed by Labour with 16.2%. Clearly, Labour did not have a dent whatsoever in terms of gaining votes here. I know there were some people who went down there to try and win voters over for Labour. Clearly, they did not. They are not. Labour is not a very popular party in Clacton. But you can see they're minus 44 there. The Conservatives got really hammered there, and Reform got majority of the vote share there. Lib Dem minus 1.8 and Greens 1.3 there. But you can see there, Nigel Farage comfortably with 28,000 of the vote compared to Giles Wilding with 12,820 of the Conservative there. Very, very far behind is Labour. So it's pretty much, it's not a seat that I don't ever see Labour winning ever in my lifetime there. But perhaps maybe things will change. But even UKIP had a candidate down there, you can see there. Tony Mack there, who was originally the Reform candidate for him, got kicked to the curb for Nigel Farage, and he went and stood as an independent there. But Nigel Farage, obviously, he's now going to have to put, no more talking. He's got to show that he's actually going to make change, because now he's an MP. He needs to show it, not in Clacton, but also, as a member of, as an MP as well. Another gain here was Great Yarmouth, a Reform gain from Conservatives here, the majority of 1,426, so not as big as Nigel Farage's. Electorate of 71,957, a turnout of 56.6%. The vote share was 35.3% of the vote share here to Labour's 31.8% there. So you can see that even though Reform got the majority of got a plus 35 there, Labour did gain a lot there. The Conservatives got absolutely hammered there, 41.2. They really got destroyed there. Slight gains for Green, slight loss for Lib Dems. So Robert Lowell there, 14,385 votes. And Keir's cousin, 12,959 there for Labour. James Clark got the boot at 10,034 there. So it was pretty much a three horses race there, but Reform UK gained that one there. The other one here, Boston and Skegness, Reform UK gained from the Conservatives. A majority of just 2,000, so not a big one, but still, nonetheless, is still a gain for Reform UK. 75,000 electorate, 811, a turnout of 53.4%. 38.4% of the share went to them. In comparison, Conservatives only had 33.4%, lost a massive chunk of that share there. Slight gain from Labour, but nowhere near amount in comparison to Reform and the Conservatives there in numbers. And there is Richard Tice, who is the chairman of Reform. He is now an elected member of Parliament as an MP with 15,520. And Matt Wallman got given the boot despite having 13,510 votes, and then third behind Alex Volan, only 7,600 there respectively there. And then finally the other fourth seat here is from Ashfield. Reform gained from the Conservatives, a majority of 5,509, electorate 68,095 there, and a turnout of 58.6%. A massive backing to Lee Anderson there. 42.8% of the share went to Reform UK, plus 37.8%. There was an increase, a bit of a slight increase for Labour there, but they came second on 29%, but nowhere near the amount of vote share that Lee Anderson has. Ashfield, independent candidate here. There was an independent candidate here, losing a chunk of the vote share there. To third at 15.7%, but the Conservative there, Conservatives, obviously it was Lee Anderson who was the Conservative, but the candidate who obviously didn't have a chance in hell here. Minus 31 there, got absolutely walloped all the way down to 4th place here. And you can see here Lee Anderson 17,062 there, compared to Ria King on 11,553 there, second there. And Ashfield independent Jason there with 6,270. And I've said this before. If Jason had lent the votes there to Labour, that may have been enough, but that's just asking a bit too much. But Debbie Sullivan, who stood in for Conservatives, got absolutely walloped there for that one. So those are the 4 seats, guys. So could they have won more? Well, yes and no. So there's a couple of seats I wanted to share with you guys, but I wanted to show just how much of an impact, like I showed you at the start there, the amount of voter share for Reform here. This is just one that's not far off Clacton here. And Conservatives held this one with 2,300 majority. Electorate at 77,061 point. There's Hulbert, Alby and Wigston there. But you can see there, 12% of the vote share going for Reform. And if you actually go through many of the different there's lots and lots of constituencies showing a percentage of it going to Reform. There's even vote shares going towards them in Wales and in Scotland. Make no mistake, they are making gains. But there's also been gains, obviously, in Greens, which I will cover in a separate video there. But 12.6% of it there. So you can see there, 6,000 share of the vote going to Reform there, but Neil O'Brien obviously holding on to that seat there. But this one here I wanted to highlight as well, Dover and Deal here. Even though Labour gained from the Conservatives, they won it at the by-election, but they've kept on to it here in the general election here. Majority is 7,559. Electorate 74,000, turnout 64.1%. But still, Reform here coming second, with 23.8% of the vote share compared to, and Labour's 39.6% share. Conservatives got smacked, so they didn't even make second place here with 21.7% there. Slight gain for the Greens there, but you can see there, Howard Cox there, 11,355 votes for Reform UK here. Michael Tapp there for Labour getting 18,914 there. To the Conservatives, Stephen James, who stood there for the Conservatives there. So that one there. So you can see the impact that Reform are having here. And then this last one I'm going to share with you guys, Hertford and Hertfordshire here. A Conservative held one here, but you can see majority of 1,279 to electorate 71,000, but turnout 64.1%. Conservative vote share 32% of the vote share there, but you still see got quite a lots of huge chunk there. A lot of that chunk going towards Reform there. You see Labour with 29.8%, a good gain. But yeah, 18.4% of the gain for Reform there. So again, Reform showing that the impact that they have had on many, many seats here. Nigel Earler of Reform getting 8,395. But Jess Norman of the Conservatives held on to the seat. So Reform, without a shadow of a doubt, have made an impact. I'm just going to share it with you one more time, guys. They have definitely made an impact here. 14.3% of the vote share here has gone towards Reform. Not in percentage, obviously, still a bit more to the Conservatives than there, but it is still a massive wake-up call to people who are not taking Reform UK seriously. You can't just ignore them as a fringe party. People clearly find Nigel Farage appealing. He's definitely speaking the minds of some people. I don't agree with a lot of things that he says and a lot of things that he does. And especially some of the racist and transphobic comments from some of the candidates that we have heard, which definitely concerns me. But he claims that he's going to fix he's going to make things better. Well, now he's an MP. And so is Richard Tice, Lee Anderson, and the other one. There's 4 MPs now. So let's see what they can do now that they are MPs. Let's see what they can do now that they are MPs. They have constituencies. Let's see if they can actually improve and make the lives better for those in their area. Because if they do, then they'll draw even more people to their cause. Because that's really what it is all about. Because even though I vehemently disagree with Reform and what their policies are, one thing that we all agree on is that we want the UK to be better. We want England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, we all want these countries to be better. But the question is about how we want to go about that. Immigration has definitely had an impact, but the cost of living crisis has definitely played into this, and the damage that the Conservatives have done in the history here has definitely played an impact. But what do you guys think? What do you guys make of some of the numbers there that you've seen? What do you guys make of the impact that Reform UK has had on this general election? Let me know your thoughts and more in the comment section down below. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me in the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.